So in this video session, we are going to start with objectives questions. So that is under the chapter Surface Chemistry. So you have learned different concepts under this chapter. It's quite easier for you people to go through these questions and you can easily get the answers, that is relevant answers for these objectives. If you have learned theoretical concepts very well, then it will be easier for you to solve these objectives questions. We are going to solve those different questions which includes both adsorption as well as the colloids. We can start with very first question, which is that question that is regarding adsorption process. Surface layer of solid means. So he is asking for what is the meaning of that surface layer actually. So this is that which is involved in adsorption process. ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ adsorption process ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ಕಾಂಪೊನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಯಾವುದದು? ಒಂದು adsorbate ಮತ್ತು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು adsorbent. The substance on which the adsorption takes place, you know that it is called as adsorbent. On which the adsorption is taking place is adsorbent, and the substance which is getting absorbed can be called as adsorbate. Here if we consider that surface, that is a surface phenomenon, actually adsorption is meant with surface phenomenon. So here only certain surface area is provided for the adsorption. It is not the bulk of the substance. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ certain area ಮಾತ್ರ adsorption process ಗೆ provision ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. That means we can say only that certain area which is available for the adsorption process. So that is adsorption which is taking place between adsorbent and adsorbate. Here they have given four options. Very first option, that is surface layer of solid means what? First he has given atoms present in the upper layer of this solid. He is considering only single layer which is getting present on the solid. We can't consider like that, only that single atomic state. But here if you go for atoms present up to a depth of 100 nanometer on the surface. So 100 nanometer, it is a very small area which is present on the surface. So we can consider it will be giving the right or the relevant option for this meaning. So actually during the adsorption process, certain area means what is the depth of the adsorption process? It is around 100 nanometer. That is also on the surface, not throughout the bulk of the substance but on the surface. Then you can accept this sentence as a correct statement. That is regarding the surface layer. And last option, anyway, what he has mentioned, atoms of surface of solid not preoccupied by other substances. So that is atoms of surface, only those surface which is containing atom, that is particularly with respect to the solid, not preoccupied by any other substance. You cannot consider this also as the surface layer. Therefore, which is that relevant answer? That is the option B is the relevant answer. That is the atoms, that surface is mentioned with respect to those atoms which are present up to the depth of 100 nanometer. Got it? So that is the very first question. And second question, what will be the effect of increase in temperature on the physical adsorption? If you consider the variable, ಯಾವುದು ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್. ಈಗ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಟೂ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಡ್ಸಾಪ್ಷನ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ಒಂದು ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಅಡ್ಸಾಪ್ಷನ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಅಡ್ಸಾಪ್ಷನ್. ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಅಡ್ಸಾಪ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ there will be force of attraction, that is weak van der Waals force of attraction existing between adsorbate and adsorbent. It is only weak van der Waals force of attraction. But in case of chemical adsorption, there will be valence bond or chemical bond existing between adsorbate and adsorbent. Here it is with respect to physical adsorption. As you know, the physical adsorption, because of weak van der Waals force of attraction, it requires only small range of temperature. We need not heat for the adsorption process to take place. We need not increase the temperature. In case of chemical adsorption, due to the formation of chemical bond, they require certain amount of energy for that process to taking place. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಅಡ್ಸಾರ್ಪ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. And hence, if you increase the temperature, actually that physical absorption getting decreases. ಯಾಕೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ವ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ವಾಲ್ಸ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ನೀವು ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ದಟ್ ವ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ವಾಲ್ಸ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್ becomes weaker and molecules will undergo desorption rather than absorption. Therefore, we can consider that what is that effect of temperature? With increase in temperature, actually physical absorption, the rate of absorption decreases. Therefore, what they have mentioned the options, it will decrease, it will increase, first increase and then decrease, and none of these he has mentioned. So with respect to physical absorption, as there is increase in temperature, there will be actually decrease in the physical absorption. Therefore, option A is the relevant answer. Got it? So option A. Now we can go for next set of questions. So that is third question. The equation for Freundlich absorption isotherm is, that is regarding physical absorption process, that is the absorption of gaseous molecules on the solid surface. It is given by Freundlich, that is as Freundlich absorption isotherm expression. So here according to Freundlich absorption isotherm, so the absorption of the gaseous molecule on the solid surface is directly proportional to the pressure. So according to that Freundlich absorption isotherm, here isotherm, here temperature is kept constant, as the name itself is representing here. Freundlich absorption isotherm is giving the relationship between the rate of absorption or the absorption amount of the gas which get absorbed on the solid surface is directly proportional to the pressure. And here the temperature is kept constant, hence that name is given as Freundlich absorption isotherm. If they use the term isobar, then their pressure will be kept constant. Since they have mentioned the term isotherm, here temperature is kept constant, so pressure is variable. So here how we can relate that amount of gas get absorbed per unit mass of the adsorbent. It is that empirical relationship between the amount of gas which get accumulated on the unit mass of the substance and pressure. Here X means amount of the gas get absorbed. M is unit mass. Unit mass ಅಂದ್ರೆ 1 gram ಅಂತ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಅಥವಾ 1 kg ಅಂತ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. 1 that is unit mass. That is equal to K, it is constant. P, pressure, that is variable. And it is related as K into P to the power 1 by N, and here N is also another constant. Therefore, among these four options, that is first option x by m is equal to k into p to the power 1 by n, he has mentioned the right equation, that is in the option A. Option B, x is equal to m into k to the power 1 by n. It is no way related, that is x we cannot separate it from m. And here x by m is equal to k into p to the power minus n, and all of these he has mentioned, but the only option which is correct answer, that is option A is right answer. So which is that Freundlich absorption isotherm expression, that is x by m is equal to k into p to the power 1 by n, which is that empirical relationship between rate of absorption and the pressure at constant temperature. Next question. A catalyst is a substance which he has mentioned the four options. Here if you consider a catalyst which can alter the rate of reaction, it is a substance when it is added in any particular reaction, either it can increase the rate of reaction or decrease the rate of reaction. Hence either it will be positive catalyst or the negative catalyst. Only thing is a catalyst can alter the rate of reaction, but any catalyst cannot start up any reaction. ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಪಾಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ರೇಟ್ನ ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಎರಡು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಕೆಟಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಯೂಸ್. ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ನೈದರ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ನಾರ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ದ ರೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್. ದೇರ್ಫೋರ್ ಯಾವ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗೆ ನೀವೇನಾದರೂ ಕೆಟಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅಂದಾಗ ಆ ರೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ನ ಅದು ಆಲ್ಟರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಬಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಇಂಟು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಸಿ ಡಿ ಅಂತ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ರಿವರ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ಎವರ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ there will be chance for the conversion of reactants into products. So here we can consider reactants are converting into products. AB is converting into CD. So catalyst cannot alter the rate of reaction, and it cannot initiate, only it can just helping to either increase or decrease the rate of the reaction. And as you can consider, we can get back the catalyst after the completion of the reaction. Only thing is that catalyst may be changed in its physical form. So solid state ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೊಂಡಿರೋ catalyst powder form ಗೆ convert ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು ಯಾವಾಗ reaction complete ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ. And here if we consider, there are 4 other properties he has mentioned. So one, very first option A, it alters the equilibrium in a reaction. And option B, it is always in the same phase as the reactants. Next option C, participates in the reaction and provides easier pathway for the same. Next option D, does not participate in the reaction but speeds it up. That means among these options, which properties is, that is catalyst is a substance which does not participate in the reaction but it helps to speed it up. That is the right answer. So actually, whichever the catalyst is added to any particular reaction, it is not acting as a reactant. You just mind it. Catalyst reactant agi act ಮಾಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. But ಏನು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಫಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಆಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ಸ್ಲೋ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅದು ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. So here if you consider, it alters the equilibrium. It does not alter the equilibrium. So equilibrium ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು catalyst ಆಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ರಿವರ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು catalyst ಏನಾದರೂ ನೀವು ಆಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ರೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ವರ್ಡ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ವರ್ಡ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದೇರ್ಫೋರ್ ಇಟ್ ನಾಟ್ ಮೆಡಲ್ಸಮ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಈಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂನ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ರಿವರ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ಈಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ ಬೇಗ ಅಟೈನ್ ಆಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ, ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬ್ ದ ಈಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ ಇನ್ ಎನಿ ರಿವರ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್. ಸೊ ಅಂಡ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ದಟ್ ಈ ಸೇಮ್ ಫೇಸ್ is always in the same phase as the reactants. So reactant solid state ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದು catalyst gaseous state ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಕಾದರೂ ಇರಬಹುದು. ಅಂದ್ರೆ reactants ಯಾವ state ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ, catalyst ಕೂಡ ಅದೇ state ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕಂತ ಏನು ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಸೆಟ್ ಇದೆ. Therefore it is also wrong. And he participates in the reaction and provides easier pathway for same. We can't accept like that. It is not providing easier pathway, but it is not participating actually, but it is only helping to speed up the reaction. So hence that option does not participate in the reaction but speed it up. That is the right option. Option D is the correct option. Next question, that is also regarding the catalyst. What is the role of catalyst in a catalyzer reaction? It is also regarding with respect to its property itself. Very first, it lowers the activation energy, increases the activation energy, affects the free energy change, and affects the enthalpy change. Here, it will not just alter free energy change or the enthalpy change. It will not affect either the free energy change or the enthalpy change. We cannot consider option C and D as the right answer. Then among option A and B, so it lowers the activation energy, and second one is increases the activation energy. As you can consider, if any reaction is taking place, reactants ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ AB is converting into CD ಅಂತ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ C and D. It is in the absence of catalyst. Let us consider energy diagram consider ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ reactants ಮತ್ತೆ products consider ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ usually the products will be having lesser energy compared to reactants here. As you know, the stability will be more here if you consider this thing. In absence of catalyst alli activation energy istide, energy of activation. What is that energy of activation? That is the amount of energy, minimum amount of energy required for any reactants to convert into product. In case of, if the same reaction we are considering, if AB is converting to CD, for this reaction if we are using catalyst, then it helps to decrease that energy of activation. So here the energy of activation is more in the absence of catalyst, but in the presence of catalyst that energy of activation is less. in the presence of catalyst, that energy of activation getting decreases, so that it will be very easy for these reactants to convert into products at lesser amount of energy, that is with lesser energy of activation. ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ರೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ತುಂಬ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವೇನಾದರೂ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಆ ರೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಫಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹೆನ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸೇ that catalyst is helping in such a way that it is decreasing the energy of activation. Therefore, when you add any catalyst, what is the role of the catalyst in catalyzed reaction? It lowers the activation energy or energy of activation. Now we can go for next question. So that is sixth question. According to Freundlich adsorption isotherm at high pressure, the value of X by M is. As you consider, during that Freundlich adsorption isotherm process, there will be variation in the pressure with respect to the rate of adsorption. So here that rate of adsorption, now it is depending on the pressure. Here as you can say, there will be graph plotted by considering X by M on one axis and pressure on another axis. As you can see here, there will be increase in the rate of adsorption X by M value with the increase in pressure. There will be increase in rate of adsorption with the increase in pressure. But it will be just showing this feature only up to certain range of pressure. But after certain range of pressure, at higher pressure values, there will be neither increase nor decrease in the rate of adsorption. That rate of adsorption X by M value remains constant. You are going to get that straight line which is parallel to the x-axis. So how it is possible? So actually, ಈಗ physical adsorption process ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರೆಷರು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, gaseous molecules, now we can consider the adsorption process, that is gaseous molecules which are getting absorbed on the solid surface. ಈಗ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದೆ, ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, the molecules will be far away from each other. That rate of adsorption is less gaseous molecule is getting absorbed on the surface. But once you provide certain pressure externally into that closed container, we are increasing the pressure. Let us assume we are increasing the pressure. Then what happens immediately? As you increase the pressure here, the molecules will come closer together and they will easily get accumulated on the surface to certain extent. To the certain range of pressure, there will be gradual increase in the accumulation of the molecules on the surface. ಈಗೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, at certain range of pressure there will be increase. But once ನಿಮಗೆ more number of gaseous molecules accumulate ಆದಮೇಲೆ, that after certain multi-layered adsorption process, there will be decrease in the van der Waals force of attraction between the solid adsorbent and the molecules. As you can consider physical adsorption, if you say it is only weak van der Waals force of attraction, as the distance increases from, that is gaseous state, gaseous molecules and the adsorbent, there will be increase in the adsorption with increase in pressure only at certain range. But after certain distance, that force of attraction will not exist. Therefore, there will be no further adsorption process taking place after certain range of pressure. Therefore, at higher pressure values, the rate of adsorption will not increase. It remains constant. Even it will neither decrease. There will be no desorption process. So, up to certain range pressure, there will be increasing. But after certain range of pressure, there will be no change in the number of gaseous molecules which get absorbed on the surface. ಈಗೇನು ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು, ಸೊ ಪ್ರೆಷರು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇನಿಷಿಯಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆಸ್ there is increase in pressure, the rate of adsorption increases. But after certain range of pressure, if you go for higher range of pressure, there is no effect of pressure with respect to rate of adsorption. Therefore, here, whatever that options he has mentioned, option A, it is directly proportional to pressure. Here, specifically, you have to go through this question. You should be keen observe what he has mentioned. According to Freundlich adsorption isotherm, but specifically he is mentioning at high pressure. Therefore, The first option directly proportional to pressure, so it is ruled out. Like second option inversely proportional to pressure, it is ruled out. So it is also not considered as a correct answer. Next, directly proportional to square root of pressure, we cannot consider. Last option, it is independent of the pressure. That means if you increase that pressure value, it is not affecting the rate of adsorption. Got it? Therefore, this is that right option. Option D is the right option. Then, it is the correct answer. Next question. Taking up of impurities by charcoal is adsorption, physical adsorption, chemical adsorption, desorption. Adsorption is opposite to desorption process. So we cannot consider that desorption process. Then it is physical adsorption. Adsorption they have mentioned, and here they have also mentioned that physical adsorption. And next, chemical adsorption. Charcoal anta consider ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ usually there will be many more and more number of pores present on the surface of the charcoal. So here charcoal, it is solid in state. We can consider accumulation of the gaseous molecules on charcoal will be considered as physical adsorption. It is not a chemical adsorption. So it is neither, we cannot consider it as a general adsorption. Specifically as mentioned, even though it is an adsorption process, but specifically it is physical adsorption. Got it? ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ activated charcoal ಮೇಲೆ ಏನು gaseous molecule absorb ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, it is only through the weak van der Waals force of attraction, hence it is physical adsorption. Therefore, taking up of impurities by charcoal, wherever it is used for absorbing any impurities, either we can consider even in the solution phase also, any molecules can get accumulated on the surface of the charcoal. Hence, we can consider it as option B is the right one. So that is, it is physical adsorption. Next, 8th question. Animal charcoal is used in decolorizing color of liquids because it is a good. What it is considered as actually this animal charcoal. So animal charcoal. Here once the dead animal's bones they are burnt, then whatever the charred bones you will get, that is called as animal charcoal. So actually if we consider during the manufacture of sugar, so sugar manufacture ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರೌನ್ ಕಲರ್ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಬ್ರೌನ್ ಕಲರ್ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ನ ಡಿಕಲರೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಟ್ರೀಟಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಬ್ರೌನ್ ಕಲರ್ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಬೈ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ದಿಸ್ ಅನಿಮಲ್ ಚಾರ್ಕೋಲ್. ಸೊ ಹಾಗೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಡಿಕಲರೈಸ್ ಆದಾಗ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದಟ್ ಶುಗರ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಗೆಟ್, ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ನಾಟ್ ಬ್ರೌನ್ ಕಲರ್, ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಬ್ಲೀಚ್ಡ್ ಒನ್, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೈಟ್ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಶುಗರ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಗೆಟ್. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಬ್ಲೀಚ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಶುಗರ್ನ ಏನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ಅನಿಮಲ್ ಚಾರ್ಕೋಲ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಅನಿಮಲ್ ಚಾರ್ಕೋಲ್ ಏನಾಗಿ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, so they have mentioned that options: adsorbate, option A; adsorbent, option B; it is acting as oxidizing agent, option C; it is acting as reducing agent, option D. Actually, so this process is meant with, particularly we can take example of manufacture of sugar. During manufacture of sugar, whatever that animal charcoal is used, it is actually acting as what? It is acting as not adsorbate, it is actually acting as adsorbent. ಅನಿಮಲ್ ಚಾರ್ಕೋಲು ನಮಗೆ ಆ ಇಂಪ್ಯೂರಿಟೀಸ್ ಕಲರ್ ಪಿಗ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಶುಗರ್ ಸಿರಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಆ ಕಲರಿಂಗ್ ಪಿಗ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬ್ಲೀಚ್ ದಟ್ ಶುಗರ್. ಹೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಆಕ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಸ್ ಅಡ್ಸಾರ್ಬೆಂಟ್, ನಾಟ್ ಅಡ್ಸಾರ್ಬೇಟ್. ಸೊ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಬಿ ಇಸ್ ದ ರೈಟ್ ಆಪ್ಷನ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, 9th question. Alcohols can be converted into various types of gasoline. So that is, gasoline is nothing but it is petrol. So nowadays we can prepare this petrol with the help of certain substance which are just acting as catalyst here, that is by using shape selective catalyst. Here alcohols can be converted directly to the direct method of conversion of alcohols into gasoline. This is one of the important, commercially important method for the conversion of alcohols into petrol, that is with the help of what? Shape selective catalyst. So which is that catalyst he is asking for, which is that right catalyst they use for? So erionite, ZSM5, next gemelnite, and last one phosphite. All these are examples for different types of zeolites. So actually zeolites means that is sodium aluminum silicates are considered as zeolites. ಅಂದರೆ ಜಿಯೋಲೈಟ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಸೋಡಿಯಂ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಲ್ಯೂಮಿನಿಯಂ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಮತ್ತು ಸಿಲಿಕೇಟ್ಸ್ ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ಲಿ there are 4 types he has mentioned as zeolites. All these are zeolites. But in case of conversion of alcohols into gasoline, which is that specific zeolite we have to consider, which is used for this conversion. Actually, among these, only one option is the right answer, that is ZSM5. So ZSM5, its formula can be mentioned as that is Siu molecular size. It is one of the zeolite which is having this combination. It is represented as general formula for the ZSM5. That means sodium aluminum silicate which is hydrated. Here in the whites of the sodium aluminum silicates, we can find around 50% of the water molecules. So we can just imagine ZSM5 andre, that is zeolite. Z stands for zeolite. Siu. Next, molecular size 5. Actually, ZSM5 is one of the best important example for shape selective catalyst and shape selective catalysis. Usually, ಈ ಶೇಪ್ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಕ್ಯಾಟಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಅಂದರೆ, ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಕನ್ವರ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೈಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟು ತುಂಬ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಶೇಪ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದೆನ್ ದಟ್ ಸೈಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಆರ್ ದ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ pores which are present on the adsorbate. So here zeolite is actually acting as adsorbent here. So they are porous in nature. The next question is, the void space in zeolites forms more than 50% of the total volume of which is occupied by. So as I told you, that is regarding shape selective catalysis. One of the best example is zeolites here. So here if you consider those zeolites like ZSM5, whichever that example I have given previously, so that is one of the best example as I told you. In this case of zeolites, if you consider their structure, he has mentioned the white space of these zeolites forms more than 50% of. Those white spaces contain more than 50% of either silicates or aluminates or water molecules or these ions. Though whichever that correct option we can consider, as I told you before, that void which is containing more than 50% of the water molecules. Hence option C is the right answer. Next question. Arsenic sulfide, that is As2S3 sol, it is one of the colloid. So here it is related to colloids. That sol has a negative charge, capacity to, that is this sol is negatively charged. Then in the next sentence, capacity to precipitate, it means that arsenic sulfide sol which is negatively charged, As2S3 which is negatively charged, which is surrounded by sulfide ions, that is negative ions. If you say here, once if you add any electrolyte which is containing active ion, so that is comes and that is under that particular specific term called as coagulation. ನಮಗೆ coagulation ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು. ಯೂಶಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಕೊಲಾಯ್ಡನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರೋಲೈಟ್ ಜೊತೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ, so it loses its stability, it will convert into precipitate. So precipitation of any sol with the help of this any specific electrolyte can be called as coagulation. And here you can consider, here once we can coagulating agent. Which are those coagulating agents here? These are the coagulating agents which are taking as example, which helps to neutralize these either negatively charged colloidal particles or positively charged colloidal particles. Here in the colloidal particles, either these colloidal particles are negatively charged or positively charged, or even they might be neutral. But whichever the specific example they are mentioned here, arsenic sulfide sol, they contain colloidal particles which are bearing negative charge. ಹಾಗಾದರೆ ಈ ಕೊಲಾಯ್ಡಲ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಏನು ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಇದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಇರುವಂಥ ಕೊಲಾಯ್ಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸು ದೇ ವರ್ ಮೋರ್ ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದೀಸ್ negative charges around them. They will collide with each other, move away from each other, and they will be moving continuously and they will stabilize the colloidal hull. But with the help of any coagulating agent, here if it is negative, the opposite ion should be positive. Then which is that active ion? That is cations are active ions. Here the first example, coagulate agent aluminum chloride. If we consider aluminum, Al plus 3, sodium Na plus, Ca plus 2 and K plus. For one potassium, one positive charge. So here with the increase in the charge on the ion, Al plus 3, and here if you say Ca plus 2 and then Na plus and K plus. If there is increase in the charge of positive charge for one single particular atom, then it is helping for the coagulation, that is neutralization of this negative. One aluminum atom is sufficient to neutralize 3 negative charges. But here for calcium, it can just neutralize only 2 negative charges at a time. But for sodium and potassium, they can neutralize only 1 negative charge at a time. Therefore, which is more efficient? Here, aluminum chloride, which is having the active ion, that is aluminum, with higher positive charge value, the coagulation will becomes very easy. Hence, it causes precipitation of the sol. Which sol it is? Arsenic sulfide sol. Hence, whatever that question he has mentioned here, I will repeat it. Arsenic sulfide sol has a negative charge. Then, the capacity to precipitate that sol, capacity to precipitate it, is highest in, which is that electrolyte which is containing the active ion with the higher charge values. Higher the valency, more is the coagulation power. Got it? So that is according to Hardy and Schulze rule. With the increase in the valency of the active ion, there will be increase in the coagulation power. Got it? Therefore, which is more effective here? Aluminum is having more effectiveness compared to calcium, which in turn more effective than sodium and potassium. Got it? So that is regarding this precipitation. And next question. Here, as you can consider here, once if you remove that negative charges, all these negative charges, if they are removed with the help of these active ions by adding the coagulating agent, then what happens to this colloidal particles? Once they lose their negative charges, they lose their protection layer. Hence, they will come closer together and they causes coagulation or precipitation. Got it? That is the reason for the precipitation by adding or by addition of any coagulating agent. Next, sky looks blue due to what? What process taking place for the observation of the blue colored sky? First option in the dispersion, second reflection, third one transmission, fourth one that is scattering. Usually sky, it is not empty, it is also containing many particles. So whatever the particles, minute particles present in the sky, sky iranta ಏನು particles ಇರುತ್ತೆ, minute particles. So ಆ sunrise ಏನು fall ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆ sunrise ಏನು fall ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅದು scatter ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Scatter means whatever the rays which falls on those particles which are having the smallest size, they will undergo scattering. That means light rays will get reflected from them. So ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಅಂದರೆ ಸ್ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸಿಂದ ಏನು ಲೈಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಆದಾಗ ಯೂಶಲಿ ದಟ್ ವೇವ್ ಲೆಂತ್ ರೇಂಜ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಅಬ್ಸಲ್ಯೂಟ್ಲಿ ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ದ ವೇವ್ ಲೆಂತ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಬ್ಲೂ ಕಲರ್ ರೇಡಿಯೇಷನ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರೋಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ರೇಡಿಯೇಷನ್. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ವಿಬ್ ಗೈರ್ ಅಂದರೆ ವೈಲೆಟ್ ಇಂದ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ರೆಡ್ ವರೆಗೆ ದರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಇನ್ ದ ವೇವ್ ಲೆಂತ್. got it? So violet in the red, wave length actually increase ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Got it? As there is increasing wavelength means which is having shorter wavelength among blue and red, then blue is having absolutely shorter wavelength. Agare ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಲೈಟ್ ರೇಸ್ ಸ್ಕೈಲಿ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಪ್ರೆಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮೆನಿ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್, ದಟ್ ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾಟರ್ಡ್ ಲೈಟ್ rays or electromagnetic radiations, they are having that wavelength which is related to or which is with respect to blue color radiation. Hence, the sky observed as blue color. The sky looks blue due to what? That process is nothing but scattering. Got it? Then, so option among these four options, option D is the right option. Then, one more question. Milk is a colloid in which? Actually, if you consider milk is one of the best example for colloids. We have already learnt about different types of colloids. As we can mention different types of matter, solid, liquid, gas. Solid can disperse in liquid or gas, or we can consider solid dispersed in solid. We have to go through all the table which includes the different examples with respect to colloidal system. But only one exception is there. If you consider dispersion of gas in gas, it is not at all called as a colloid, because as you know the definition for colloids ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು heterogeneous ಆಗಿರಬೇಕು. But gas in gas ಅಂತ ಬಂದಾಗ that is air. As you can feel air is present surrounding us, but we can't visualize that air, isn't it? So because it is a homogeneous mixture, gas in gas cannot be considered as a colloid, except that other remaining matters can be considered as colloids. Either gas in solid or solid in gas. Many examples we can consider. One of that type of colloid which is with respect to milk is, it is called as emulsion. Okay, emulsion ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ? Actually the milk, which is a combination of the fat dispersed in the liquid medium. So there will be presence of a casein, as you know, in the milk. So that casein actually acting as an emulsifying agent, which is carrying, that is also carrying negative charge. It is protecting the colloidal particles. Got it? So once you add lemon juice to the milk, ಈಗ ಮಿಲ್ಕ್ಗೆ ನೀವೇನಾದ್ರು ಲೆಮನ್ ಜ್ಯೂಸ್ ಸ್ಕ್ವೀಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ? ಸೊ ಹಾಲು ಒಡೆದೋಯ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. That means it will curdles the milk. So what the main reason for that, main cause for that? Because whatever the negatively charged colloidal particles, that is fat particles present in the milk, they will get neutralized once you add citric acid, which is present in lemon juice. Got it? So therefore it will undergo neutralization. So here milk is a colloid in which he has mentioned. So emulsion means dispersion of liquid in liquid is called as emulsion. Therefore, which is that example? That is, milk is considered as one of the example for the emulsion. Here, which are the four options he has mentioned? Milk is a colloid in which option A is a liquid dispersed in liquid, a solid dispersed in liquid, a gas is dispersed in liquid, some sugar is dispersed in water. Obviously, you can just mention which is that correct option. Liquid is dispersed in liquid. So water is medium and dispersed phase is water, and dispersed medium is water, and dispersed phase is, that is oil, that is fat, which you can consider which is present in milk.